there was a young girl whose mother was deceased and whose father had remarried. Now, his new wife was not particularly fond of her stepdaughter. And when they would go out walking together, the older woman would stop them by a pond and call out over the water, "O God of this pond, if you ever want a wife, this girl is yours for the taking." And here she would shove her stepdaughter a little towards the water. It was a cruel jest, but harmless enough, and the girl never told her father about his wife's behavior. There were far worse things a stepmother could do to a daughter. One day, the two women were out walking together through a gale, and despite the weather, the stepmother stopped them by the pond and called out over the water, "O God of this pond, should you ever want a wife, this girl is yours for the taking." The wind ripped at the pond, rippling its surface. The sky, already dark with clouds, grew darker still, and goosebumps crawled over the girl's skin. Without a thought, she turned away from her stepmother and hurried, running as fast as she could, back to her home. And there, clutching her father, she told him between sobs and gasps of what had happened. And just as she finished her tale, the stepmother arrived home, a giant snake on her heels. The snake turned its terrible eyes toward the young girl, its tongue flicking obscenely in and out of its monstrous head. But the father was clever and quick-witted and spoke to the giant snake. "That is my daughter you eye with such impropriety. And the woman who promised her to you is my wife, but not the girl's father. She had no right to make that promise. Only I can give my daughter's hand in marriage. And I refuse." At this, the snake turned toward the father, reared up as if to attack. But he had expected this and continued on bravely. However, a wife is bound to do as her husband says. And as far as I'm concerned, she is the one who is yours if you want her. If you want my wife, go ahead. She's yours for the taking. And at that, the giant snake wrapped its coils around the stepmother and hurried off back to the pond. The woman was never seen or heard from again. But sometimes it is rumored that when the weather is particularly fierce and the storms especially violent, a giant snake can be seen rising from that pond, and with him, a cadaverous woman who may once have been beautiful, but was now only twisted with madness.